Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest. Today, we're going to be doing part 2 of our tower guide. This is going to be for floors 31 through 40. It's going to have detailed pictures of the different map layouts. It's going to have units that might be beneficial to you, VCs that might be beneficial to you, enemy layouts, and of course, it's going to have status ailment resistant units that are relevant for each floor. Now, if you do want a hard copy of this, make sure you check the description down below. And as always, let's go ahead and jump in. Before I go ahead and go into all of the details, a special shout out to content creators that have contributed to this and helped me out. Specifically, Umbra Rays did a great overview of all of the different tower floors and his opinions. You can see a link to his video down in my description below. Gilgamesh, another YouTuber, while he doesn't speak on his videos, does actually put recaps of every single fight in his YouTube channel. You can make sure and go see that. I'll put that in the link below, so if there's a fight you're specifically struggling with, you can see some of the strategies that he employed. There's also another YouTuber who has almost no subscribers. His name is Autistic Knight, but he actually uploaded every single floor clear as well. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. It'll all be down in the description below. If you want some of the basic information for the tower, such as, you know, what elements or what type of units are going to be good, if maybe, I don't know, you want to look ahead, or maybe you want to look at floor 41 through 50, the link to the Ultimate Tower Guide is in the description as well, and you can use Google Translate in Chrome to change the page to English, and you can kind of take a look at what's coming in the future. Let's go ahead and start with floor 31. It's going to be a difficulty of 2 two-headed digs, and the thing that you're going to notice is that it actually kind of becomes a little bit easier compared to the last floors of floor 30 and so on. So we're actually back down to level 70. Basically, this floor is going to be a lot of dark units, a lot of ninjas, a lot of red mages, Tidus, and Whisper. You're basically going to want to either bring light units or dark units. You're going to want to bring units with accuracy, or you're going to want to use an accuracy VC card so that you can hit the ninjas. The fight is basically going to spawn you in the lower left-hand corner, and you're going to be kind of going up against the ninjas and Whisper first. Assuming you don't step down too far from the platforms, you are actually not going to aggro the red mages, so you're only going to be dealing with the ninjas first, and you're going to be dealing with Whisper as well. Slash attack is effective here. Ninjas, of course, have their type-resistant magic spells, such as like Anton and Huton and such. Make sure you boost Spirit and not Magic Resistance, because Magic Resistance will not help you against these types of abilities. Stop resistance is also going to be important, because remember, a lot of ninjas have Shadowbind. An important note, though, is that Shadowbind is a range height 1 ability, and you can see here, actually, in this description, you see this little ledge that Laswell and Ruinstern are on. There is actually a gap here on the other side of Laswell, so if you block these 3 tiles off with 3 units that are stop resistant, the ninjas won't be able to go up and hit your support units or your ranged units without going fully around. So they won't, you don't need to have every single unit with stop resistance. 100% hit attacks will help as well. And yeah, I put a list of units that are immune to stop. That's going to be any time mage with access to null CT. Outside of time mages, we do have Luartha, Glaciella, Whisper. We also have Dwayne, Victora, and Ramza. So those are all going to be units that are really effective. And of course, if you have a ribbon, that's going to be very good as well. Some hidden tech that I was thinking about while I was doing this. A lot of the times we see light element and dark units for this map, and this is going to be a recurring theme. Important reminder that Ildira and Little Leela do have access to holy abilities, and so you will be able to use the calculator holy abilities as a type advantage against dark. You might want to save that till later, but I'm just throwing it out there. Let's talk about floor 32. This gets 3 two-headed digs, and this floor is level 75. It has Engelbert, 5 white mages, and 4 archers / rangers. Now, the first thing you need to know is that having units with jump +1, so a total of 2 jump, is really going to help you close the gap on the archers, because you're not going to be running down the center. You're going to be running around the sides if you want to take them out. Now, in the center, the healers will basically heal up Engelbert and support Engelbert. They will also nuke your allies. So there's been multiple strategies where maybe you AoE the healers down and then you run along the sides and kill them. But honestly, it's going to be messy, I think, either way you do it. Engelbert, of course, is going to be a quick takedown if you have a unit like Kane. But then again, you know, you're going to run into 5 white mages casting Holy or whatever it is that they're going to cast Banish on you. And you're just going to find your Kane in a, you know, dark situation. So whatever it is, whether you take out the healers and kind of focus the archers down slowly while having missile resistance on your characters, or whether you go along the outside and kill the archers first and slowly work down the white mages, I would say just make sure that you have a strategy for which route that you're going to take. Personally, I think also Vow of Love would be really helpful here, particularly with the Rangers, so that you don't really get ganked by like 5 white mages casting Holy on a single unit. So what you might do is you might take like a light element tank with Vow of Love, just so that, you know, they will be guaranteed pretty much to take the first couple rounds of shots from the white mages. A full ranged build could work on this map. Important notes as well is that single hit resistance will work against everything in this map. So if you have Odin is going to be the best VC that you could possibly set here. Thancred's TMR for the light resistance plus 15%. Also, Phoebe's TMR for the light resistance are also going to be very powerful as well. You could set the Fleeting Blossom Banquet VC, which also has light resistance on it for an individual unit. You can also have Perks of Having Charm VC, which has Light Eater up if you do want to do that. Now, if you're maybe running a Limb or Agrius, if you have a Limb leveled up, Agrius and a Limb have natural single attack resistance, so they are, of course, going to be really good for taking on attacks from the mages, particularly Agrius. If you had Vow of Love on her, I think that's going to be the strategy I'm going to deploy. You could maybe put Agrius, put her towards the center with like Platinum Helmet for missile resistance. Could work out pretty well. Other than that, I'm going to say push along the sides and beware of the white mages that have Arise. If you have Fenrir, utilize Fenrir. Otherwise, it's just going to be one of those slow marathon type maps, and make sure you just take it slowly. And one other thing here that I would like to note about the strategy here, I think you could deploy Dragoons pretty effectively to take out the 3 archers in the center. If you're able to get Victoria within range for either Dragon Dive or Vertical Jump, or get any of your ninjas or Dragoons up there onto the ledge by literally running across the center, which is super dangerous, but you could probably pull it off. You could probably dispatch the Rangers pretty quickly. Definitely a high risk situation, but something to consider as well. Lore 33 is an interesting one. We're going to put 3 two-headed digs for difficulty. It's going to be basically all Ice Paladins, Spellblades, and Time Mages. It actually might be all Ice Paladins, it looks like, or Knights. It's a little hard to make out here. Basically, you're going to want to focus down the Time Mages, and the thing that's really going to be effective on this floor is Fire Missile and Fire Magic. Now, if you do also have a Sleep Blade, you can make use of Sleep Blade as well here. The enemies are very susceptible to it. Now, there was some translation issues on Ultima. I had like 3 different people look at it, and if they're Paladin class enemies or Knight class, you would think that we would be talking about Disable, or sorry, Stun from Blade Bash, but it seemed to continually mention Disable in the Ultima notes, so I think you should probably just set some Disable resistance units just in case. In the videos that I watched, I never saw them use Disable, and I never saw Umbra mention Disable either, but you might just want to play it safe because it did list it on Ultima, and I would say Ultima is a pretty reliable source. The enemies are going to have slash resistance. If you have defense penetration on this map, it will help. It's recommended that you kill 1 unit at a time. Rain is called out as being very good here. An important note on TMRs as well, Sosha's TMR does have a native ice resistance, so it can be pretty powerful. If you're planning against Blade Bash, oh my god, I can't talk. Blade Bash is a range height 1 ability, so make sure you're prepared for that there. Other than that, you can perch archers, defend from the high ground, and kind of take them out one at a time. I don't think this floor will be too difficult. I think this is the floor that will really be like, oh, good thing I pulled Luartha. Or like, oh, good thing I have Lilith, right? Or Christmas Mashery. So we'll see. I don't think this floor is going to be particularly difficult. Another thing to keep in mind too, you can use the Tomberry VC for disable resistance. You can also use the Mobius card to add additional ice resistance to the party. There's also a whole bunch of other VCs like the Downtime VC, which also adds Ice Eater. There's a lot of things you could run on this map. So I would say this map is going to be pretty generous, pretty forgiving, and I think you shouldn't have too many problems here. All right. Floor 34 is what has been called probably the easiest tower floor to clear kind of this round. So basically it's going to be all earth element, red mages and monsters. Basically you're going to want wind element, missile, and magic. With the predominance of Halloween Leela, with the predominance of Howlet as well, you can probably destroy this floor. To quote Umbra, Howlet just 100% murdered everything. Definitely if you're running Howlet, you're going to want to run him sub red mage, so that he does utilize jamming thrust. Remember, jamming thrust does have a range height of 2, so particularly if you are attacking with it or defending with it, you know, maybe some clever positioning, you might be able to avoid some damage. Also remember, you could utilize Halloween Leela's wind bonus damage, and of course, single hit resistance and magic resistance will be critical here. Other than that, you can utilize, of course, Lucia and Lorelei. I think Dario as well would be good. Honestly, I think most players have some form of wind element composition, so it's going to be really easy for a lot of players to clear this floor. Additional callouts for VCs, you can utilize Titan on this floor, will be very powerful. You can also use the wind attack bonus cards and such. Again, shouldn't be a problem for you. Floor 35 is going to be the first appearance of a mid-boss, and I put this as 4 two-headed digs difficult, and this is going to be kind of the beginning of a pattern where you're going to see that Nibbles is predominantly the most powerful unit in this tower run. Nibbles and Frederica are going to be essential in terms of clearing this quickly and reliably. Leviathan in the center is going to be surrounded by soldiers and Dragoon units. Basically, what's basically going to happen is your party is going to start out in 2 different positions, so make sure you use initial placement. Watch out for water Dragoon damage. They do have quite a bit of Dragoon damage. Use terrain elevation to your advantage. Also make sure to utilize both area attack and single unit resistance. Remember that almost all Dragoon attacks are considered area attacks. Leviathan is weak to pierce and range. A lot of the enemies will cluster around Leviathan, so making use of things like Dragon Dive, Nibbles Limit Break, Kane's Limit Break, Sid's Limit Break for defense minus, because Leviathan is susceptible to defense minus, and of course Barrage are all going to be really effective here. Leviathan is also classified as a Nether Beast, so Nibbles has a plus 30% damage buff against Nether Beast that she can apply to the party. Also, if you do have Fenrir and Leviathan, you can respec them to have plus 25% Nether Beast Killer if you're really in desperate need for some additional damage. I personally think the Leviathan VC would be really powerful on this map. I also think having any source of agility up is also going to be really good. Some MVPs that I'm planning on taking in here are of course going to be Nibbles, because as you can see, Leviathan is literally designed to be murdered and destroyed by Nibbles and a limb. Leviathan himself wasn't particularly noted as a strong unit, so unlike other tower floors where you had Siren who had like area of effect sleep, you're not really going to have to worry about Leviathan doing stuff like that to you. I'm probably just going to run in and start picking units off one by one. I think it should be pretty easy, and I'm not too concerned about it. Floor 36 is one of the more unique floors that you're going to encounter. And floor 36 is basically going to be 2 really strong paladins supported by 8 time mages. Now, that sounds a little crazy, but the paladins do have almost 14,000 HP. They have 40% resistance to all attack types except magic, and they have 60% resistance to all elements except for ice. You're gonna want to bring area and single attack resistance. Magic weakness is on the paladins and missile weakness is on the time mages. You really want to kill the time mages quickly. Status ailments are also powerful here. So if the paladins do get within range, really, important notes is you can utilize Confusion, Toad, Sleep, and Slow is going to be really effective against all of them. Nibbles also has area of effect Paralyze. So you can utilize Nibbles as area of effect Paralyze on these paladin units. Really important to note as well, as we're going into this, the last couple floors here, you're going to see the units actually become weak to Paralyze at one point. So utilizing Nibbles area of effect Paralyze is going to be actually a pretty viable strategy for the last couple floors. Umbra in his video definitely called out that Toad can be very effective here. I personally think Miranda's Limit Break for Confusion is also going to be really effective because it's area of effect. Basically, the 2 beefy melee can really hurt, so don't cluster your units. Also, high range sharpshoot is really valuable here, and attacks with high range height. If you do have Gilgamesh, and you put Gilgamesh in your formation, you are going to be able to auto clear 3 of the time mages right away from the beginning, since they are going to be in range of his attacks. Definitely going to be the route I would recommend for you to go. As long as you can get as many of them taken out as possible, I think you will be successful here. Floor 37. This is going to be an easy one. This is very similar to the box room that we had on the previous floors 1 through 30, where basically you're in a box type room surrounded by 3 other boxes, and on one side you have mages and on the other side you have melee. Only this time, instead of being Medina, I think it was, it's going to be Skull, and instead of being Nausea, it's going to be Sir O, and it's going to be Vadim. Your primary target will be to kill Skull first. The black mages are going to be casting Sleep. Now, this was actually noted on Ultima and by Umbra, is that the black mages are really weird on this map. They will prioritize sleeping your units. So you're going to want to utilize units with natural sleep immunity. That's going to be units like Venera, Sid. Sid only has sleep immunity if he does use Black Lion's Crest, so keep that in mind. Nibbles, Ketone. If you have Ketone or Zombie Raryu, they will decimate this floor. Glaciella, Yerma, Frederica, Grace, Nausea, and Shootselt. Earth element units and magic resist are the way to go. Do not use Mustadio and Mont. It can be tempting, but Mustadio and Mont actually both have weaknesses to sleep, which means that the black mages are almost guaranteed to land that sleep on you. Floor 38 is when the difficulty is going to start amping up. Of course, get ready for that because we are approaching the final floors. It's going to get 4 two-headed digs in difficulty. This is going to be a predominantly fire element floor with Seymour leading the charge, surrounded by basically 3 ninjas, 2 samurais, and 4 gunners. This map, your units spawn in really awkward positions. It's going to be really important for mobility that your units have jump to if possible. Also, because there's ninja element units on the map, having accuracy or 100% hit for the enemy ninjas is going to be important. Also, it's important to note that all of the enemies now basically have 40% resist to everything except what they're weak to, and 50% elemental resist to everything except water. I really can't emphasize how important initial placement is going to be on this map. You can look at the bottom picture here and look at how separated these units are. So if you have strategies that want to take advantage of the enemy positioning, for example, you can see here that Warrior of Light is here right in the center as kind of a tank. That would be an excellent position for a tank to kind of draw the enemies to. So I would definitely do initial placement here. I think that's going to be critical. If you have Ildira, if you have Glaciella, it's going to be really important as well. The samurai are weak to magic, and the ranged and the ninja are going to be weak to pierce. Glaciella is all the way. Again, continuing the static effect or the status effect trends, it does seem like the ninjas are going to be utilizing poison for whatever reason. So you can either bring poison immunity, you can bring, Esena, whatever you want to bring, just make sure you're aware of that. If you are going to be planning on bringing a tank, you may want to bring a tank with Vow of Love, because the enemies in this floor and the next couple floors have such high agility. They're going to be acting potentially before your units, and if you don't have Vow of Love equipped, they could easily change target one of your mages, and that could be the end of your run. Also important to note, slash resistance is good here. Floor 39. This is going to be 4 two-headed digs difficulty. This floor is a little gimmicky. Parties are going to be split up, so make sure to use initial placement. Just like I talked about on the last floor, Zazan has 130 agility. What that means is he's going to go before all of your units. You need to plan to take on Zazan quickly. 2 of your units will spawn near Zazan. If you have lightning ranged units, if you have Frederica, if you have Nibbles, you need to put them over on the side with Zazan, because you have to kill Zazan before he can get to any of your allies. Zazan's charm is undodgeable. You heard that right. It is essentially undodgeable. That's the gimmick of this map. So you need to take him out immediately. He cannot reach your party on his first move, but you're going to have to utilize things like Sharp Shot to be able to hit him to where he goes, and you're going to want to kill him quickly. It can be quite shocking how quickly Zazan is going to be able to get into your team and charm your units. Now, there are also a lot of turtles on this map, and of course with turtles that means there's going to be immobilize. Lightning shooting, of course, is going to be best. It'll be good pretty much against everything. If you are going up against the paladins or the turtles, you can use other lightning element abilities, but it will just be slow and you will have to take it one step at a time. Bring healing and prepare for a drawn out battle. Zazan is also susceptible to paralyze. Remember I said that paralyze would be coming back? You can actually see here he has a 50% weakness to paralyze. So if you have Nibbles and maybe you don't have another unit that can kind of take out Zazan, you can definitely paralyze him and slow him down. Other than that, Steelheart does have a range height of 1. So if you do find yourself in a position where Zazan is coming your way, try and find a way to block his ass from getting to you. Other than that, because we're fighting turtles, you're going to want to bring area attack resistance, since they do have area attacks quite frequently. Also, remember, you also have the New Year's card for aquatic unit element type killing, or sorry, for aquatic monster type killing. Got to be careful because that card doesn't give water killer, it gives aquatic type killer, which means, you know, turtles, that means flans. Those are all aquatic monster types. All right, we made it to floor 40. This is going to get 6 two-headed digs in difficulty. The biggest problem here is not Diablos. It is, again, going to be status ailments, and it's going to be kind of the enemies that are going to be right in front of your face. So the skeletons are, of course, going to be really weak to Holy. The plan you can see here in the picture is that the skeletons spawn right in front of your units. Like, they're literally right there. And they are very fast. They have an agility of 120. They can drain HP. They're going to be terrible to you. So a strategy that was pretty common that I saw in Ultima was to put 3 tanky units up front and then put 2 nuking or magic units in the back, so that those units are physically protected by those 3 units up front, and then to take them down by nuking Holy right away, and to basically plan multiple waves for clears. So very similar to Siren, where you might take a party composition in on floor 30 and clear out the elementals. You're going to want to go in, take a party in, clear out these skeletons in front, and then maybe you're going to want to worry about Lamia, or maybe you'll nuke down Diablos while you're at it. Diablos really doesn't do much except lower magic resistance. He shouldn't be too much of a threat. It's the Lamias with the confusion that can really throw your party into disarray. The Lamias are only really weak to thunder missile attacks. Skeletons, very susceptible to Holy. The skeletons are also charmable, interestingly enough. So for those of you that love utilizing the charm cheese strats that are out there, definitely have some fun and charm those skellies. Important note here as well, in the JP version, Elf Cloak was already released, and Elf Cloak had confusion resistance on it. So kind of similar to how we didn't have Skull for when the Siren came out for floor 30 on the last tower, we don't have the Elf Cloak this time. So this fight was actually really tuned for people who could benefit from utilizing the Elf Cloak. So keep that in mind. The Leviathan Esper also has some confusion resistance on it, which can help you out. In terms of confusion immunity, Nibbles does have 10% confusion resistance, along with all of these other units that are immune to confusion. Medina, Luartha, Sakura, Ildira, Stern, Dwayne, Skull, Delita, Mariel, and of course Salir. Salir, Mariel, and Sakura gonna be kind of the super MVPs of this map. If you can get them in there, they are going to take care of things quite easily. I think Medina also is going to be pretty good, and same with Skull. So if you have them, make sure you utilize them. Ildira and Halloween Leela, of course, could be really good for their holy abilities, particularly the one that is tied to Ildira's special card, reducing attack and magic. So lots of things you can do here. I don't think this floor is going to be like mega crazy, but it is going to be a bit of a grind, and you are going to need to have the right type of units for it. Let's talk about 40EX, because 40EX has everything that you hate. That's going to be Igaion, it's going to be Iron Giants, it's going to be Malboros, and it's going to be Turtles. I don't know why we keep getting these Turtles, but Lord have mercy, I am so done with Turtles at this point. Basically, the mechanic in this fight is that Igaion is going to do a self buff that gives him plus 72 defense and spirit, and it's going to give him enhanced range as well. Having an ability to dispel this is going to be very important. Nibbles, of course, is going to be viable because of her dispel capability. Another unit that's going to be also viable is going to be Laswell, because they both have basically an instantaneous dispel, which is going to be very important. Basically, Igaion is going to be one of the first things that you kill. You don't want to kill the Gunners, because the moment you kill the Gunners, you are basically going to trigger the Malboros to spawn, and nobody likes to fucking deal with Malboros, right? So let the Gunners hit you. The Gunners are going to spam the shit out of Immobilize. Like, Immobilize is going to be everywhere on this map. So make sure you bring either units with Immobilize immunity, or with Esena, or units that you just don't mind being immobilized. The Gunners also have very high agility, again, common trend that we're seeing. So make sure you bring a unit with Valve Love that can kind of take those immobilized shots right at the beginning of the fight, because they are going to move before you, so that your entire party doesn't get immobilized. Engelbert and Warrior of Light would be amazing units for this. I think if you don't have either of them, you could utilize Thancred or Gafgarion even in a tanking capacity just to take those hits. Other than that, bring lots of healing. You know, leave your units in a formation where healing and buffing can support you. Stay on the ranged height area and just start taking pot shots at units as they come at you. That's kind of the best strategy that I've seen. That's kind of what I would recommend. Depending on your units, you might have to actually go out of your comfort zone and move forward. That's okay as well, but just make sure to plan and take care of yourself. I'll definitely be posting my floor 40EX clear, and if you are looking for like an MR only clear, Gilgamesh actually has a great MR clear video of this fight, which I would definitely encourage you to check out. It definitely utilizes a lot of support characters, so there's a lot of Adelard healing, there's a lot of Grace healing, there's a lot of everything, and it utilizes two of the Whisper trio basically for their resistances to shooting and attacks in order to kind of soak attacks. It's definitely a very cool video, and I would encourage you guys all to go see it. As always, everyone, if you do want to support me, make sure you use my affiliate link dig.gs/coins, or you can go to dig.gs/offer as well. And as always, can't wait to hear from you guys, and have a great rest of your weekend, everyone.